Everyone, welcome back to the channel Soulfly Styles. My name is Sophia Abdulsalam. So in today's video, we are doing something interesting. I'm going to be showing you how to make a hip and butt padded tights like the one I'm wearing underneath these leggings right now. So if you have ever wanted, that extra curve, perfect blending curve like this one underneath your clothes without having to wear a shapewear, then this tutorial is for you. And we are going to be doing this step by step, and it is going to be detailed. The tutorial is going to be detailed. If this is something you are interested in, you want to stay with me till the end, because I'm going to show you everything you need to do to achieve this look. If this is your first time on my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Do well to like, share, and please subscribe. And to all my returning subscribers, thank you so much for your support as always. God bless you guys. So without wasting much of our time today, let's get started with this perfect padded tight tutorial. So to start with, I'm going to be showing you the materials you are going to need for this tutorial. And the first on our list is foam, okay? And now, we all know foam, right? Yes, this is foam. You can easily get it from people that makes couches, people that makes furnitures and all of that. That makes chair, You can easily get this. If you have a sawmill close to you, you can get it from there. So now, one thing about foam is that this particular foam, as you can see, when I measure the thickness, it is 1/2 inch. But when you get to the market and you want to buy it, they will call it 1 inch for you. So when you want to go and buy yours, just take your tape with you, measure the foam so that you will know the thickness that you want. Measure it and tell them this is the thickness that I want, okay? Because if you want to buy like 1 inch thick foam, I think they will call it 2 inches for you, like 2 inches foam. Meanwhile, when you put your tape, it is 1 inch thick. So, but this one, it is 1/2 inch thick. But when I got to the market, they call it 1 inch. They are not tailors. People that are selling, they are not tailors. So just carry your tape when you want to buy it, when you are going to buy, and measure the thickness that you want, then show them this is the thickness that you want, okay? So that is it. So for this tutorial, I'm doing 1/2 inch thick foam, and I think I prefer this foam than the other one. It is less stressful and it gives a more natural look. Okay, I like this thickness so much. You can do 1 inch. Let's say you want to do photo shoot, Instagram body, outfit. You can go something higher than this 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inches, fine. But for me, I like the fact that this 1/2 inch looks so natural and it's blending well with my body. I actually made one with 1 inch foam. I'm going to show you guys maybe later on in the video. I don't like the fit so much. It looks like the whole of the community was looking at me. So I had to make this 1/2 inch foam for myself. So the next material we are going to be needing is the fabric. So I've worked with Lycra before, and the fit is not bad. So this time around, I'm working with a material called London crepe. So if you get to the market, if you're in Nigeria and you get to the market, just tell them you want to buy London crepe. So this particular London crepe stretches on only one part, unlike the Lycra that I used before. Lycra stretches on both sides. But this London crepe I bought it stretches on one side. That is why I want to give it a try to see the fit. So, and I bought just 1.5 yards. So if you're on the plus size or the small size, I feel like 1.5 yards should be enough because it stretches. So, and it stretches to only one part. Okay. So that is it for the material. 1.5 yards should be enough for you. Then the next material you are going to need is stay. So we are going to need this stay, like this cotton interfacing. We're going to need this stay to cover up our foam when we are done working on it. So that is why we need stay. And if you have like 1 yard, it should be enough for you if you're on the medium to small sides. But if you're on the plus side, you can get like 1.5 yards of stay. Okay. So another thing is scissors, your French curve, and pencil, marker, ruler, and of course your pattern paper, trouser pattern paper. One thing I didn't tell you regarding the foam is that they don't sell foam in yard. They sell it per sheet. So you can either buy a full sheet or you buy half sheet. So now I've shown you all the materials you need. Let's start working on our trouser pattern. So basically, you can use any trouser pattern that you have, anyone that that works for you. But this is my own trouser pattern. I already have the tutorial on the channel in case you want to give it a try too. But you can use any trouser pattern that works for you, for as long as the fit is nice. Like you have tried that pattern, your trouser pattern, and the fit is nice, you can go ahead and use it. But this is my own trouser pattern. I like the fit. If you have seen my video on the trouser, you have seen the fit. Okay, so I like the fit of my own trouser pattern. That is why I am using it. So now the first thing I'm going to do is I've drafted the pattern off camera. I drafted the pattern without that allowance. Okay, and I drafted the pattern with my exact measurement. So I'm just going to be doing a little alteration to the pattern now, and I'm going to be doing that on the knee. So the pattern you're seeing here is just from my waist to knee measurements. Okay, I don't need to draft the pattern full because I'm only trying to pad my hip, so I don't need a full trouser pattern. Up to the knee is okay. So now for this pattern, now when I was drafting the pattern on the knee line, my round knee is 16 inches. For the front, I used to do knee divided by 4, then I'll mark it on both sides of my dart line. Okay, 16 divided by 4 gave me 4. So for the front, I mark 4 on both sides of the dart line, which makes it a total of 8 inches, which is half of my round knee measurement. But when I was drafting the back pattern on the knee, after I did knee divided by 4, which gave me 4, I added extra 1 inch to that measurement because I needed to make the back a little bit bigger than the front. So that 1 inch I added to the back piece on the knee. That is a total of 2 inches that I added to the back piece on the knee. I need to remove it because I don't need it. First off, the material that I'm working with is already stretchy, and that 1 inch will make it extra big around the knee. So I need to take it out. So for this tutorial, you can actually use maybe like crepe. Okay, you can actually use like crepe, or yes, you can use crepe, maybe stretchy crepe or non-stretchy crepe. But the disadvantage of that is that you will need to put zip on your padded tight. And I don't want to do anything I don't want to work with zip on this padded tight at all. That's why I'm choosing stretchy fabric. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be adding half-inch seam allowance to the crouch area for both the front and the back, and the inseam side of the pattern. I'm going to be adding 1/4 inch seam allowance to it. Okay, so for now, let me just add the half-inch sewing allowance to the crouch, and then 1/4 inch seam allowance to the inseam part. Just watch what I'm doing, you will understand it. So now, after adding all the seam allowance, the next thing I'm just going to do now is I'm just going to use my French cuff and my marker to trace out the actual pattern that I need so that you guys can see it clearly. Okay, this is still the back pattern for now. Okay, so we are still going to work on the front. So one thing I forgot to do on this pattern is to add half-inch sewing allowance to the waist area. I totally forgot to add it. So when you are doing your own, make sure you add half-inch sewing allowance to the waist area before you cut it out. Okay, but for me, I didn't add it. I was supposed to add it. Okay, I forgot. So please don't forget, add it to your own as well. So I'm just cutting out the back pattern now, then we'll start working on the front. So while you're cutting, there's one thing I also want to tell you. If you are using like a non-stretchy material, let's say you want to do it directly on your skirt, you will need to add the thickness of your foam to your measurement on the hip. So like now, I'm using half-inch foam. When you are drafting your own pattern, like this is if you are not using stretchy fabric. When you get to the hip, after you do your hip divided by 4, you will need to add whatever thickness of foam you are using. So your hip divided by 4, in this case, I'm using half-inch foam. I will now do plus half-inch because I'm using half-inch foam. If you are using 1-inch foam, after you do your hip divided by 4, 2 plus 1 inch. Okay? I hope you understand. That is if you are using a non-stretchy fabric. But if you are using stretchy fabric, you don't need to add that extra allowance for the foam because the fabric stretches out. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is to cut out this pattern on the fabric. And before that, we need to know the length of my tight. Okay, so for the length of my tight, I'm going to be doing 3 inches above my knee level. Okay, so I'm just going to go up by 3 inches on the front pattern and on the back pattern. So this will be the length of my tight itself, the black fabric. Yes, this is going to be the length. I don't want it to get to the knee, because you know how I used to tell you that when I was drafting the basic bodies, I told you not to shape your skirt directly on the knee. Not to shape your dress directly on the knee. Yes, this is applicable to when you're making a skirt or anything that is a full, like you're making a dress too. Don't shape directly on the knee. Well, I can't explain that right now. When I'm doing a skirt tutorial, I'm going to explain that better. So now I'm done with my pattern. It is time to cut it out on the fabric. So to fold the fabric, I told you it stretches on only one part. I'm going to fold it in such a way that the stretchy part is going to be crosswise, in such a way that it will expand on the side so that it will accommodate the foam when I put it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So just fold your fabric and ensuring that the stretchy part is the part that is on the hip line. So right now, I've gone ahead to cut it out on my pattern paper. As you can see, I cut it out exactly. The only extra thing I did is this hem part, where I added just 1 inch to fold in the hem. Okay, so this is it now. So what I'm just going to do now is I'm going to unpin the paper from the fabric. Then we are going to sew the pieces together, okay, before we start working on the pad. All right. So when you are cutting your pattern on fabric, don't forget to notch the hip area, both the front and the back. It is very important so that when you are sewing it, you will know that it has to meet on the hip. And as you can see, the way I stretch it, the stretchiness is on the cross part. It is crosswise, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to pin them together so that I can sew it together. So the first thing I'm going to be sewing is this crouch part, the back crouch. Please, I be crouch. The back crouch. I'm going to be sewing it together, and I'm going to be sewing with 3/4 of an inch. I added 1/2 inch sewing allowance. Yes, I'm going to explain the reason why I added 1/2 inch sewing allowance later. But I'm going to be sewing with 3/4 despite adding 1/2 inch sewing allowance. The fabric is stretchy. I'm not supposed to add any sewing allowance at all. But because by the time I put my foam, I don't want it overlapping. That is why I added sewing allowance to the crouch part. You will understand by the time you are making your own. So I'm going to sew the crouch for the back, and I'm going to sew the front and the back piece together on the side. But I'm going to leave the front crouch open. Okay? Sew the back crouch together, sew the pieces together on the side, the front and back, then leave the front crouch and the inseam part open. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that on the machine now, and this is what it looks like. The back crouch, I see you down with 3/4 of an inch. The side, I see you down with 3/4 of an inch as well, okay? I did 3/4 of an inch sewing allowance all around. So now it is time to work on our foam, like the padding we want to put in our tight. It is time to do it, and we are going to be starting with the front pattern. Now you know that for the length of my tight, I did 3 inches above my knee. So for the foam now, I'm going to be going 1 inch above this length. You can do up to 2 inches above this length, but for me, I'm doing 1 inch. Though I ought to have done, after making everything, I realized the 1 inch I did was small. I should have done maybe 1.5 or 2 inches above this length. So, but what I did here is, for the length of the tight, I did 3 inches above my knee, while for the length of the pad, it is 4 inches when you calculate it, 4 inches above my knee. That means I did 1 inch above the length of my tight. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So you can make yours 2 inches above the length of your tight. It will still blend well because foam stretches out. Okay, foam stretches out. The length will increase a little bit later on. Don't worry, I will explain it better. But for now, let's start with our foam. Now, for the foam, we are starting with the front. To cut out the front, now from your hip line here, I told you, if you are doing non-stretchy fabric, add your, whatever thickness of your foam you are using, make sure you add it to your hip line. After you do your hip divided by 4, if you are using 1/2 inch thick foam, then do hip divided by 4 plus extra 1/2 inch on your hip line. But because my own fabric is stretchy, I don't need that because the fabric already stretched. So on your hip line from the side, you are going to mark between 5 inches to 6 inches. This 5 inches to 6 inches totally depend on the one that works. But whichever one that works for you, make sure that from the center front, mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. If your nipple to nipple divided by 2 is entering 5 or 6 inches that we marked earlier, please, you have to reduce your 6 inches or 5 inches, reduce it. I hope you understand what I'm saying. But after I mark my own nipple to nipple divided by 2, it did not even get to the 6 inches I marked, so I am safe. Okay? So now I have marked out 5 inches, I marked out 6 inches. I'm going to use the one that I'm drawing the shape of my pad. I hope you understand what I'm saying. The 5 inch and 6 inches is a guide for you to draw out the shape of your pad for the front. Okay? Whichever one that works for you. But whichever one that works for you between the two, make sure that it doesn't enter your nipple to nipple divided by 2. So now, watch the way I'm placing my French cuff. If you don't have this French cuff, I would advise you to invest in it. Okay? Now, I am not going to this is the upper part. I'm not going to make it to come out too curvy there. It shouldn't be too thick around there because I'm not trying to pad my waist. If it is too thick there, it will be entering your waist. So make sure you are doing something very light. Okay? Actually, this one, you have to do it on your own. You have to decide on your own. So I just need you to watch what I'm doing. Look at the shape. Look at how thick I make the upper part, the down part, how wide is the thickness and everything. You can see that I'm not making it too thick. Okay? So just draw out your cuff and blend it together and make sure that it is straight towards the center front. You can see I used a broken line first. I don't want to use a marker so that, marker won't be able to clean it if it is not flowing the way I want it. But with pencil, so after I used pencil and I see that it is flowing well, I decided to use my marker to smoothen it out. Can you see the shape? I believe you can see it clearly now. So look at the upper part the way it is and look at the down part. I did not make it too thick. Can you see it? I'm sorry, I don't have a measurement guide for this. You just have to trust yourself and look at it yourself. Okay? So after I draw it out, I'm gonna head to label my pattern up, down, center front, and side front. Then I'm going to set it aside so that I can work on the back piece. Now, for the back piece, you are going to need your waist to underbum measurement. So this waist to underbum measurement, you are going to measure it on the side. You don't need to measure it from the back. Okay? Just measure it on the side, from your waist on the side down. So when I measured my own, mine gave me 14 inches. Can you see I'm measuring it on the side? I'm just going to measure it on the side like this. Then I'm going to extend it forward. To extend it forward, I'll measure what I have from down up like this. Then I'm going to project it at the front so that I'll be able to have a straight line when I'm extending my underbum line. I hope you get what I'm saying. So I did not fast forward this parts of the tutorials because I want you guys to see it as I'm doing it so that I'll be able to explain to you properly. So this is my underbum line. This other underbum line is not actually we don't really need it, but we need it so that when we are drawing our cuff, we don't worry, you'll see it when we are doing it now. So now on the hip line, I seal my tights with 3/4 of an inch for the crouch. I hope you still remember. So that 3/4 of an inch, I'm going to mark it in now. I've marked it in. You can mark up to 1 inch safe. Okay, mark it in. This is just a guide so that the cuff that we are about to draw will not enter the seam allowance. If it enters the seam allowance, by the time we are done making our foam, it is going to overlap. Now, these 2 inches I mark on the hem, ignore it because it did not later work. I was trying to get a measurement for you guys, but even the 2 inches I marked was too much. So now watch me draw the shape of my foam for the back piece. You can see I'm going in with my free hand first, okay? You just need to throw yourself at this point. Don't worry, I'm still going to use marker to draw it. I just want you guys to see as I'm drawing it. Now, this curve you are drawing must not enter my under bum. Like, it must not be too much on the under bum line. Can you see the under bum line? Can you see what I have there? This is why you need to mark out your under bum line so that you don't let the curve enter that place too much, because if it enters, by the time you finish making your tie, your under bum will be too thick. It will be obvious that you're wearing a padded tie. So you need to make it small. What we are actually trying to pad is our hip, okay? Hip and the bum, not our under bum, okay? So I just want you guys to see how long it takes me to get my own curve, so that when you are doing your own, you can just take your time to get the perfect curve for yourself. And it's okay, you can just use your free hand to draw it first. When you look at it and it's looking, this is looking good, you can go in with your marker, okay? But for now, just watch what I'm doing as I am doing it. So when you are drawing it, we are trying to achieve something that looks like a P. So by the time you are doing one, you see that your own P is coming down. You can easily just correct it, okay? All right. So make sure we are trying to form something that looks like P, and P doesn't lag, doesn't drag down, right? So you want to make sure you have a nice shape. You will know when you are doing it right, okay? You will know. From the look of it, you will know. So don't worry. My own I'll still correct it when I am using marker to trace it out now. But I'm just trying to let you know that there is no guide to it. I don't have a guide to it. If I have it, I would have told you guys. You just need to trust yourself and believe in what you're doing and use your eyes. When you are looking at it too, don't ignore when you see, this thing is not looking okay. Don't ignore it. Correct it on your pattern, because if you don't correct it, by the time you are done making it, it is going to show on the result of whatever you're making. Okay. So that is it for now. So just watch as I am using my marker to trace out the actual thing that I'm going to be cutting out. You'll notice that even as I'm using the French curve, I ended up look at this part now. I ended up correcting it because I feel like my P is dragging down if I follow what I draw on the pencil. But what I have on the marker now, you can see it's looking like P. So we are only trying to pad the hip and the bum. So after you are done, you are sure of your shape, then go ahead and label your pattern. Your hip line, center back, side back, up and down. Okay. So now you can push your scissors to cut it out. So one thing you can do is you can just get another pattern paper, put it underneath, then use your tracing wheel to trace out the shape you have just drawn. Let's say you want to use the pattern paper later on, but for me, I don't have any use for this pattern paper anymore because it has no dot, it has nothing. So I made it strictly for this tutorial, so I can just put my scissors. But if you don't want to cut it out, just get pattern paper and put it on that. Use your tracing wheel, trace it out, and you draw it on that new pattern paper. But before you cut out your shape, make sure you label your pattern correctly, label it properly. Up, down, side front, side back, side front, center front, all of it. Your hip line, make sure you mark it out properly. Then you can go ahead and put your scissors, okay? Now, I'm just cutting it out before we now cut it out on our foam. Right now, I'm just pinning everything together. I'm pinning the paper on my foam. I've opened up my foam and I'm pinning it like this. So once I'm done pinning, I am going to put my scissors. But the thing is, we are going to be cutting 2 of this pattern. We need to make one for the right, one for the left. Okay, one for the right, one for the left for both front and back. Okay, so I'm cutting the first one now. This is the center front. I'm cutting the first one. So when you are done cutting it like this, you know, I told you to mark out your hip line. So this hip line, you're just going to use your marker to trace it out on your foam like this, okay? And once you are done, make sure you label up, down. Can you see that I just turn to the back of the pattern paper on the foam? Like, turn to the back of the foam, then label it. So I just want you guys to see as I'm doing it. So now I'm just going to use my ruler to trace out my hip line. So I'm showing you how to label your foam too. I'll do the same thing on the back piece now. Then after that, I'll go ahead and cut the second one for each of the pattern paper, okay? So now I have gone ahead to cut the second one. That makes it two piece each, okay? 2 piece for the front and 2 piece for the back. And I want you to see the way I label it. You see that I put them together and I label it on the opposite sides. I don't know how to explain it. So make sure you label your own properly so that you don't have 2 rights and maybe 2 lefts. I hope you understand. Can you see the inside is open and the outside I label it? Like, can you see? Now, it is time for us to shred our foam. This is very important, okay? Now, the part we are going to be shredding is the part that goes to the center front and the part that goes to the center back, okay? We don't need to shred the part that goes to the side front and side back because that is the part we are padding. It is our hip, which is the side front and the side back that we are padding. So we are only going to shred out the center front and the center back so that it is going to flow well when we are wearing. If you don't shred it, by the time you wear it, it will be looking bulky around your bum bum at the back and around your thigh at the front. So you need to shred it so that it will lay flat on your body when you are done making it. So right now, I'm just marking out the parts I am going to put scissors so that when I'm putting the scissors, I don't make mistake. Once I see this mark on my foam, I already know that this is the part I want to shred. This is the part I want to put scissors. Now, as for how deep you are going to put your scissors, like measure from the center front inward, honestly, there is no measurement. But one thing I can tell you is that don't shred it too close to your side front or too close to your side back, but because if you do that, it is going to make your bum bum look flat, okay? And it is going to be looking like your hip is too pointy. People will know. So you can do, one thing I can just tell you is that from the tip of your side center front inward, you can measure like 2.5, then you shred it. And for shredding it, you are going to shred it in such a way that it is sloping. Just look at the way I'm doing the scissors. You see that I'm trying to make the edge of the foam very tiny and flat, but it is not going to be that tiny going inside. It is going to be increasing, going inside until it flows well to the rest of the foam. Like you want to do it in such a way that by the time you put your hand, it is sloping down, like shoulder slope. It is sloping down. You understand what I'm saying, Abby? So as for how deep, like how slopey the length of your slope, you can go 2.5 to 3 inches at most. Don't do too much because if you do too much, it is going to make your bum bum look flat. Okay? Especially for the back. So you can do like 3 inches for the back as well. It should still work. I forgot to measure the one I did for this one, but I think I do something around that range. 3 inches is okay. Unless you're on the small side. Even if you're on the small side, 3 inches is okay. Okay? I just want you guys to see how I'm taking my time to do mine, okay? This is not something you want to rush, okay? So now see what is going on. The part I have shredded, you can see how tiny the part I've shredded is. Normally, I can even still shred it more to make it very tiny. And look at the part that I have not shredded. So by the time you put your hand, you will see that it is sloping down, okay? So I'm just going to do that on the rest of the foam as well. The front, the back piece, I've done everything and I've even cut out my stay that I want to use to cover it up. Now look at what I have. I should have even done it, like make it better. But I want you to notice that, can you see that it is transparent at the edge? The foam is transparent at the edge, but going up, it is getting thicker until it flows well to the rest of the foam. That is how you should do it, okay? So right now, I'm just going to cover up my foam with my stay. Now, to do this, you don't want to put your iron on top of your foam. Like I said earlier, foam spread out that is how they react to heat. Like when you put heat, something hot on them, they spread out. So you don't want to put iron on it. When you put iron on it, it is going to increase your foam, and by the time you are making it, it is likely going to overlap by the time you want to put it in your skirt or your tight. So just make sure you cut your stay in excess, and when you're covering it up, you're just ironing the stay together to hold it. Don't put your iron on top of your foam, okay? Another advice I will give is that use white stay and use a marker that is going to be visible underneath your stay, because after you cover it up, all your hip line, your up and down mark that you made, the label you made on your foam, if you go and use a black stay, it will disappear. You will not see them again. So using white stay here, by the time I turn over to the other side, you will see that all the lines, all the label I did, look at it, it is showing. So it will be easy for me to use my ruler and marker to trace it out now on the stay, okay? So I've just marked out my hip line, which is the most important thing that I need. Okay, I already can identify my up, my down, my side front, my side back. But if this is your first time, make sure you label your side front, your side back, up and down, so that you don't mix it up. So I have covered up one. I'm going to cover up the rest of the foam now. I just want to show you guys how to cover it up. Again, I'm repeating it. Don't put your iron on top of your foam, because if you do that, your foam is going to expand and it is going to affect you when you are sewing. Okay? It is going to, I'm just saying it. If this is your first time trying it, so now I'll cover it up, cover the rest, then I'll come back to show you guys what you are going to do next. Okay? So right now, I have covered up everything. As you can see, the front, the back, and everything is in place. So the next thing we want to do now is to decide which of this foam is going to the right and which one is going to the back. Now, look at what I'm telling you regarding how I shredded it. You can see it clearly now after I covered it up. You can see that it is sloping down. Like the shredded part is like it's coming down. That is how you should do it. So to know the part that goes to the right and the part that goes to the front, you already know your center front, you know your center back on the pattern. But just make sure that it is the shredded part that is going to be resting on your skin. Okay? Put the foam on your body. You already know the one that goes to the back. You know the one that goes to the front. You know the side front. You know the side back, center front, center back. Just make sure that it is the shredded part that is resting on your skin, so that by the time you finish making it, when people are touching your body, they will be feeling that smoothness part, but the shredded part will be resting on your skin. I hope you understand. Will be resting on your body inside, while the smooth part will be outside. That way you'll be able to locate, okay, this one will go to the front, this one will go to the back. Once you are done, put the hip line together, pin everything together neatly, and take it to your machine to sew it down like I am doing right now. But if you do it well, it should not be difficult for you to know the one that goes to the right, the one that goes to the back. And the pinning together, everything is just going to be in place. Since if your pattern is already, like you check your pattern, everything is rhyming together. The front and the back piece is rhyming together. By the time you finish making your foam and you don't put iron on top of your foam, everything will rhyme. You will not have shortage anywhere. Okay? So as you are sewing, make sure you are arranging it as well. You know it is foam. Now, I sew on top of this foam actually. Yes, I sew like not even up to 1/4 of an inch. That was my sewing allowance for this foam. It's okay for you to sew on top of the foam. Yes, you can sew on top of the foam, but don't sew like 1 inch. It's too much. Half-inch gone is too much, but half-inch can still work. But I feel like half-inch is too much. So I did like 1/4 inch, or I used my zipper. My presser foot as a guide. Okay, so here I am done sewing everything together. As you can see, the right, look at it here, the back. This is it, the foam. Now, there's something I want to tell you regarding this foam. After you are done sewing it together like this, please check your foam. Look at the shape that it is giving you. If one of them or both of them, the shape is not okay, you feel like it's too pointy anyway, please take it back to the machine to re-sew it. Because if you don't correct it, that is the shape it is going to be giving you by the time you are making it, by the time you finish making it and you wear it. So you want to make sure you sew your foam very well. You correct any pointiness that you see on the foam. If you don't correct it, that is the shape that it will give you when whether you're making it on a skirt or you are making it on a tight. That is the shape that it will be giving you. So you want to get your So the next thing I'm just going to do now is I'm going to pin the fabric and the foam together, okay? We need to pin them together neatly. Actually, I will not be able to do this on screen because usually when I want to do it, I sit down on the floor or on a chair and I will use my knee. Like, when my knee is folded, I'll now put the foam on my knee, then continue please and now place the fabric on top. But what I just want to tell you is that make sure the hip line on the fabric, your hip point on the fabric is resting on the hip line on the foam, and make sure your seam on this side seam on the fabric is resting on the side seam on the foam. Okay, now I am done pinning it. Now I just want you guys to see what I have here. Can you see? You are going to need as much pin as possible. Okay, you are going to need plenty pin. Can you see the way my own is flat and I don't have any excess fabric around the hip there? So make sure as you are pinning it, you are spreading out your fabric so that it doesn't form squeeze anywhere. Okay, I'm sorry I couldn't show you. There was no way I could have shown you that part. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this to the machine to sew it down. And please, if you had half-inch sewing allowance to your fabric, please make sure you leave it out because you will need it to attach your band later on. So don't worry, you'll be able to see where your foam ends on under the ST. So just place it on the half-inch mark. So can you see everything is neat and flat? So I'll just take this to the machine now. I'm going to sew it. Another thing I did is because I see that the white ST is looking, tacky inside. So I've gone ahead, I cut out this my padded pattern on my fabric. I cut 2 pieces each and I added sewing allowance all round. So I'm just going to sew that together. Then I'm going to use it to cover the foam inside. But first of all, I'm going to go ahead and sew down the foam to the fabric first. Don't worry, when you take it to the machine, you'll be able to see the foam and you can just just sew on the edge of the foam like I am doing. Just take your time. And as you are sewing, make sure you are spreading it out. You're spreading your fabric so that it doesn't squeeze. And as you're sewing, be checking, do you have squeeze at the back? Okay. This is something you want to do. You want to take your time to do it. You don't want to rush. Okay. So I'm just sewing the foam now. I'm going to go ahead. After this, I will sew the cover that I just cut out. I'm just going to sew it together to then use it to cover my foam afterwards. So that aside, one thing I forgot to tell you regarding shredding of foam is this down part. The part that goes to the knee from the hem upward. Make sure you shred that part very well. Okay. As a matter of fact, for that part from the edge, make sure you go up like 5.5 to 6 inches and shred it. Because if you don't shred that part inward properly, it is going to be looking like what I am wearing here in this image that I'm about to show you. So you want to make sure that you shred it properly inward so that by the time you are done, it will flow well on your body. Okay. So right now I am done sewing the sew foam to the fabric, and I've even gone ahead to sew the cover together. Now I have pinned the cover on one of the foam. So I'm just going to be sewing, and I trimmed the excess that I have on the foam after I sew it. Then I used the cover to cover it. I pinned it together. Now I can just take the machine to sew down the edge of the cover. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm doing. Actually, at this point, my phone was already screaming for memory space. I didn't have enough space, so I couldn't separate them as I was doing it. So I had to just combine all these parts together for you to see it. So please, I hope you understand what I'm doing. If you don't understand, you can leave it for me in the comment section. And if at this point you are still watching, I would appreciate if you can click the subscribe button, click the like button, and drop a comment for me if you are gaining value from this tutorial. So right now, this is what the inside looks like. As you can see, it's better than me having that SD. Okay, now this is the outside and this is what it looks like. So what I would just want to do now is I am going to fix a band. Okay, if you have elastic, I think what I have is like 2 inches band. You can use for how long your band is going to be. You can just measure what you have on the waist of your tight. Because at this point, it is going to be less than your actual waist measurement. So just measure what you have on the waist, cut that exact measurements on the elastic. But for this one, I think I have 25 inches on the elastic I have is like 25 inches, which is about 2 inches shorter than what I have on the tight gongon, but it still works for me. So anyhow, there's no measurement to the elastic actually. Just use something that will be firm on your body. So after I fix the elastic, the next thing I'm going to do is to sew the crotch. Please sew the elastic first. After you sew the elastic to the waist, you can then go ahead to sew the crotch for the front, and you're going to be sewing with 3/4 of an inch. After you sew that, or before you sew that, measure what you have on the knee length like this. I told you my knee is 16 inches, but after I measured here, even after not adding sewing allowance like that, I have 16.5 here. So I decided that I'll be sewing the knee part with 1 inch and this crotch part with just 1/2 of an inch. I hope you understand. This upper part of the inseam, I sew it with 1/2 of an inch. The knee part, I sew it down with 1 inch. While the crotch part, I sew it down with 3/4 of an inch. I hope you understand. I believe you understand what all the other things I'm going to do now is the normal way we sew our trouser, because we are actually done with the tedious part of the tight making now. I'm just telling you the allowance I used to sew down my home, okay? But the first thing you do is sew down mark out your sewing allowance out, sew your waist, the band to the waist, then go ahead, sew down the crotch, then sew down the inseam side. So I'm just going to be doing all of the sewing now so that you guys can see it. So as for sewing the band to the waist, I didn't sew it down the normal way we used to sew. I placed the band on top of, I didn't put them together. I placed one on top of each other, because if I realized that when I did it the normal way we used to sew, it was forming bulky around the waist area. I didn't like it. So I decided to just place it on top of each other like this and just follow along the sewing. But whichever way you prefer, just make sure you fix your band elastic to the waist of your tight, okay? Then you can go ahead to sew down the crotch and the inseam part. And finally, guys, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. I hope you found this video helpful and you are now ready to create your own padded hip and butt tights like a pro that you are. So if you learned something new or you just enjoyed watching this tutorial, please give this video a big thumbs up. It will really support my channel. And don't forget to leave a comment for me if you have any question at all. Or if you just enjoyed watching this tutorial, you can drop a comment for me just to let me know you were here. I like seeing the comments. I'm never tired of it, okay? If you have not subscribed to my channel, should I kneel down? Please, my brother, my sister, support me by clicking the subscribe button, click the notification bell so you don't miss out when I upload new tutorial. So thank you for your support. Thank you for watching my tutorials. God bless you all. I'll see you guys in my next tutorial. Until then, stay fly, stay stylish. Bye bye.